I'm Dr. Jordin Wiggins, and this is the Pleasure Principles podcast. Join me on this journey where sex, science, and sensuality meet. Let's change the conversation around sex and pleasure together. Hey there, Superwomen. If you were like myself and the women that I work with, the last few weeks has felt off, a little frustrating, and you're not alone. If in one or more areas of your life you are thinking, something has to change, I can't keep doing this. Maybe I should just give up. Maybe this isn't possible for me. While you're scrolling social, you're thinking, damn, she looks happy. Why does it look so easy for other people? What am I missing? Why am I snapping? Why am I saying more mean things in my head? You're starting to get a little frustrated and maybe even angry. And anger is not a safe emotion for most women to express. I've been working on this personally the last few months. And when we are getting in touch with healthy anger and we have clamped that fire hose for years, can be a little messy. I think the last time I truly remember feeling anger, like allowing myself to feel anger, was childhood. And I was shamed for it. There wasn't room for me to be angry in my household. Plus, society tells us that it's unbecoming as a woman. As a superwoman, usually dealing with some type of trauma, wounding around worthiness. And as a high achieving person identifying as female, we're always walking this dichotomy. If we're angry, we're bitchy. If we're attractive and open and friendly, we're sleeping our way to the top. Or if we're professional and kind of walled off, then we're cold and intimidating and hard to read. It's really hard to be who we authentically are in this society and love it. And our kind of trauma, sometimes it's overt trauma, do not get me wrong, but there's also this insidious type of trauma that because we had meals on the table and after school sports, we don't really classify it as trauma, but no one was there to be emotionally available for us. We were rewarded for achieving. And what we were modeled, the toxic relationship scripts, we don't have a clue what healthy love and intimacy in a long-term relationship looks and feels like. It's this idea that, oh, okay, I want that. I know there's more. It must be possible. But when you're raised by one or more parents that don't know how to regulate their nervous systems and couldn't teach us how, no one was available for our emotions, or maybe our siblings' needs trumped our own. Maybe our parents were just trying to survive. So we used people pleasing and overfunctioning and perfectionism as a means to cope and secure love. We created our survival self, our superwoman. And there are benefits to these characteristics, which is, again, why this dichotomy is so interesting and so fascinating to unwind, because the women that I work with are often extremely successful. They're at the top of their careers. When shit hits the fan, you want to call her. Work or personal, she's got it handled. And despite being able to solve more complex problems and handle stress like a champ, or so she thinks she does, there is still something missing. She's not as happy as she should be. She's lost the spark in life, in her relationships, and beyond the beginning of their relationship. And maybe if she's honest, she really never had it, because what her 20-year-old self wanted is not what she wants and needs and would be fulfilling today. But she's been so busy tracing career goals or parenting, caring for parents and relatives and friends, that she hasn't even noticed that missing piece. But she's noticing it now, and it's frustrating. I think the pandemic had a part to do with this because it gave us time to pause and reevaluate some things, hoping that you did that. Most of the women that I work with did that. We shook some things up, changed a few things, and now we're being called to speed back up to the pre-pandemic pace. And your pink canary, your intuition, that warning light is flickering. Something feels off. It doesn't feel right. And it is frustrating if we'll allow ourselves to feel frustration. But usually we just stay busy. We try and outrun it or outwork it like a superwoman, any good superwoman would do. But there's a downside to not feeling, and that's anhedonia. You heard me write about it in my book, The Pink Canary. You have heard me talk about it on national news like Cityline, and it is the inability to feel pleasure and joy. It is the biggest threat to women's health today. Anhedonia and feminine burnout, as I would call it, I would go so far to say that is actually the biggest threat to the health of society and our planet. I want you to know that the frustration you are feeling, the unsettledness, is actually a good thing. As much as it sucks, it means that you are listening to your intuition and you are getting ready, if not ready, for change. In fact, when things are challenging, I've personally wished to go back to my unaware self, where I was distracted with the busyness, the wine, the next career goal, the next trip. But when you start opening to a life of pleasure, you can't unsee it. There isn't any going back. And really, the only way out is through. And I want to talk about that today. So we're realizing it. We're realizing, oh, okay, these maladaptive patterns and ways of being that I had got me here, but they're not going to get me to the next level. They're not going to get me the fulfillment. They're not going to get me the sex, love, and intimacy that I want. So women work with me to feel more pleasure in and out of the bedroom. And I explain it to my clients like this. Pleasure is like a dial that we have turned off. If you can't relax when you're on vacation, or it takes you 3 days to relax, your pleasure dial is off. If you don't desire sex, pleasure dial's off. And I mean, we can get into semantics here, but I mean, if you don't desire that sexual aliveness, erotic, creative energy, if that's not a part of your existence, pleasure dial's off. We can have times where we don't feel like having sex. We're not supposed to be turned on all the time. Just putting that out there. If you're going through the motions, milestones of life, milestones in your career, and you're not celebrating, it's off. Or you're going to the celebration, you're making the reservation, taking the action, but you're not present, pleasure dial's off. If you are not happy just because, in spite of all of the shit that you have going on and all of the people that you help support, off. If you can't meditate, go without your phone or your favorite numbing behavior, off. Along with anger in our childhood, other feelings were deemed inappropriate. So even joy, like being too happy, was even stifled. I know for me, I was raised like waiting for the other shoe to drop. Don't fully enjoy this. Don't really love it because it might get taken away. So this assault on pleasure is deeply rooted generationally, especially if you were raised by immigrants or descendants of immigrants, or just in general in society. It's not safe for a woman to be fully expressed. And this is even harder for people of color. Now, what I want to tell you today is that you can't just feel the good things. We can't just turn up the dial on pleasure and this dial on pain stay off. It doesn't work that way. So women come to me wanting to experience more pleasure in life, more orgasmed, be more turned on, more desirable, feel more seen, feel more at ease and present. They're sick of the grind, the hustle. And the more pleasure that they have in life, and that's in health, wealth, and love, they realize how hard it is for them to truly receive and enjoy being there, being in their pleasure. Something gives, and it's health, in health, wealth, or love. Sometimes it's getting fired. It's rare for a superwoman, but I've seen it happen, or some like catastrophic event happens in their business or wealth generating activity. And usually something is more likely to give with our health or our relationships, because that's just the superwoman, the way we are. So the superwoman desires to be more present, to feel happy for no reason without earning it from an external source. The superwoman desires to reconnect the passion in their relationship, or finally find one that feels good to stay in. And if you were like me for years, you were running from the men that felt safe and running straight towards the addicts and the people that needed saving. Because truth is, so did I. Superwomen want to truly laugh and smile again, not the fake smiles, but like the smile that comes from inside out. Women come to me looking for something to do, but it's the complete wrong approach. And we've been doing for too long. And we are exhausted. We are anhedonic. We are lonely. Even when we are surrounded by support, loved ones, hired support, and we are still lonely. And a superwoman will know what I mean. So they come with those desires for better sex, connection, intimacy, love. And what we are really looking for and what the task truly is how to feel. So we can tolerate the shit out of negative stress by numbing and staying level-headed, focusing on others, giving up our own needs. We have been trained to do this for generations. We spent our lives in sympathetic nervous system dysregulation, and that feels like home. Being able to relax, breathe, sleep, and sleep without stimulation. How many of you sleep with headphones on? I know I've been guilty for years. To be able to rest, to celebrate, to be present in life and present in sex. And these things are so foreign. So as we start to have more and more success, we work on ourselves, we do the therapy, we learn how to become more efficient in business, get the right pieces in place and think, okay, if I can just, have this, then it will all be okay. But as we erase the problems to solve and the hurdles to climb, that's when things can start to unravel. We don't know how to exist outside of our survival selves. You can have the house, the car, the vacation, the clients, and we're still not happy, or shit starts to fall apart with our health, with wealth, or with love, like I said. So take me, for example. I've never had less noxious stress in my life, and my health is worse than it has been in the last 20 years since I went to medical school and naturopathic medicine and learned how to balance and heal myself. I've been healing relationships with parents, partner, undoing generations of trauma. I've made career choices for more freedom. It feels so good. I'm in my zone of genius. It doesn't feel like work. I love it. I work with the most amazing, amazing women, help them heal their pleasure problems, their relationships, change things for their next generation. I have more time. I'm working on being a wealthy person. Still have some work to do there to like truly, truly receive wealth, but we'll bring on the money experts to talk about that. I'm giving and receiving healthier love than I have ever been able to do before in partnership and with my children. And yet my hormones have never been more out of whack since having my daughter pandemic breastfeeding time. And my nervous system doesn't know how to tolerate this much good, this state of havingness. So I have this mysterious puking illness. My health has been affected. And I have self-diagnosed as cyclical vomiting syndrome. I will, I will be confirming that diagnosis. But if you know anyone that has it, have them send me a DM on Instagram, because I'm learning a lot about treating it and not really a believer in chronic illness. So I'm a believer in find the root cause. Anyways, this illness is triggered by good and bad stress. So even when good things happen, it gets triggered because my nervous system is so out of whack. And you literally cannot make this stuff up. And it happens to my clients where they get out of the bad relationship and they get sick. Things go better than ever in career. And then something happens, their relationship starts crumbling. And whatever, the mystery, chronic illness, the fractures in the love, there's a breakdown that when we start to have more good, things fall off the rails because our bodies don't know how to be in that state of pleasure, be in that state of havingness, be in that state of relaxation. It is so foreign to us. And you want to talk about frustration and shame. I worked my whole life to be here, to have the time and money freedom to love and be loved, to share what I know about women's sexual health and wellness with the world. And I'm needing to teach my nervous system that it is safe to receive this much good. It is safe when there is nothing wrong, when there is no problem to solve, because that's how foreign it feels. It sounds extreme. An extreme is how I used to like it. I'm getting over that belief about myself. I don't know, trauma thing, ADHD thing. Anyways, if you're looking for a coach or someone to listen to that is teaching you on theory, you need to find someone else, because I have seen some shit, walked through some shit, and led thousands of women through theirs. So, and I guess I'll tell you a little bit more about that later so you can really, really get the picture. So the journey that I really take women on of how to experience more pleasure, how to have the love, sex, and intimacy that they want, is how to feel, how to be more vulnerable, become more sensitive. And it might make you eye roll. You might have a visceral response. Superwomen with their power suits on, their scrubs of professional suits of armor, kind of hate this one. They get a little squirmy. It sounds weak. The good news is that becoming more vulnerable and sensitive, feminine characteristics denounced by society, the patriarchy, hence your visceral reaction, is something we can practice. We can cultivate to feel more joy. And I'm going to give you tips on how. But the catch, there's a catch. And it's not really a catch. It's a block in our thinking, a lack of integrity in our thinking, a false belief that's holding you back from the life and love and sex that you truly desire. So we reframe the truth. In order to feel more pleasure, more joy, more bliss, more full body orgasm, more full body, yes, we need to be willing to feel more pain as well. Feeling more equals feeling more. We can't just cherry pick. So remember the pleasure dial. It's just one dial. It's one feeling dial. There's no, we're going to turn up the pleasure dial and turn down the pain dial. Not how it works. They're either connected or it's all the same. Feeling is feeling, and we need to turn that shit up. So what's our choice? Our risk is staying tight in a bud where it is safe with our survival skills. We are guarded, or opening, exposing our delicate petals to the world. And I'll give you a quote. I even looked up how to pronounce her name. One of my favorite short stories and erotica writers, Anna Nin. Probably did not pronounce that right, but do my best and we will link it. But I want to give you this quote. So the day came when the risk to remain tight in a bud was more painful than the risk it took to blossom. Life is a process of becoming, a combination of states we have to go through. Where people fail is they wish to elect a state and remain in it. This is a kind of death. Living never wore one out so much as the effort not to live. That's feminine burnout. Life is truly known only to those who suffer, lose, and endure adversity and stumble from defeat to defeat. Perfection is static, and I am in full progress. Abnormal pleasures kill the taste for normal ones. I feel her work in my bones. When we make decisions to avoid pain and uncomfortability and stay safe, and Superwoman might be thinking, well, I take risks. And you will take risks for success in your career, or you will take calculated risk. It's why you have so much, you can handle and tolerate so much, you have so much success. But think about your intimate relationships. You do it yourself instead of having hard conversations. Do you have sex out of obligation or because you're looking at the calendar or fearing it's been too long, too many days have passed so that you need to have sex? Can you relax? Can you let yourself be cared for without guilt, without criticizing the support you receive? Can you feel joy? Have you had the peak experience of every cell in your body having pleasure, full body orgasm? I'm living, breathing proof of this. Living, breathing proof of that quote. Was one of the superwomanliest superwomen ever in a marriage where I couldn't receive, felt unseen and unsupported. Superwomen marriages are lonely in many aspects. And if you're a superwoman, you know what I mean. You've got a great teammate or a partner, but it doesn't fill that hole, that loneliness. And that's our shit. We're not blaming our partners. We're not always blaming our partners. I was running a successful business in a soul crushing medical model. I was looking into the eyes of my sexual abuser at my wedding because I'm cool. I did the therapy. I can tolerate this to make everyone else happy. I'm strong. I'm tough. Started doing pleasure and desire work because, again, at that point in my life, I had everything I thought I wanted. I wanted a medical practice, a women's health clinic in my hometown. I wanted to make 6 figures a year. I wanted a Tesla. I was checking all the boxes and something was missing. So at that point in that transformation is much like the one that I'm going through now. I was working with my coach at the time and I started having visions of myself as a mother. And it was dreams and images that would come to me. And it was the same blonde, curly haired girl. And I never wanted kids. I was too scared, fucked up around bringing a life into this world to truly mother someone. So I couldn't even do it for myself. I couldn't imagine doing it for another human. But knowing I needed to leave my marriage, I started to have those visions. And anyway, I have her now. I sang her down from the stars. She's 2. And she, blonde curly hair. So many of these visions that I had will actually come true. It is the wildest thing. So anyways, I met this new man, first man that I ever saw myself having kids with. Had one of those conversations that you'll never forget. Like you remember the room, you remember what you were wearing, how it felt in your body. Talked about children in 1 to 2 years when we got our shit cleaned up. My divorce, his parenting agreement, and difficult, expensive, drawn out legal battles. I was pregnant 6 weeks after that conversation. Put a manifester and a Manny Jen together. Look out with what you both desire. Then it was March of 2020. Not knowing, like being pregnant, what would happen to a baby, laboring with a mask, postpartum on lockdown, no support, no less support, visitors, all the things. Then there was some time of where the vomiting started. And we can clinically classify this as severe because, like we said, I don't do anything small. Need to work on changing that belief. When I started weaning breasts from breastfeeding, this started showing up, and my hormones trigger it. This is a condition people are on disability for. This is a condition that people commit suicide from having. So, needless to say, the last 2 years, 3 years has been a bit of a ride. It has been a lot. And I'm telling you this not to scare you, not the pleasure is bad and scary and I need to run away. The takeaway is 2 things. One, if you're looking for advice or someone to listen to, like I said, don't take advice on flying from people that have never left the runway. Superwomen are classic for outsourcing and getting our opinions from others. We even want to ask our husbands for their approval on doing this work. And while, you need to honor your agreement in partnership and have people on the same page, but at the end of the day, you're asking somebody that doesn't, it's like men giving advice on childbirth and delivery. It just it doesn't make sense. And it's another quote. Another one of my favorite writers, Poems and Peonies. Check out her Instagram. The quote about women never leaving the runway or taking advice from people that never left the runway. Check that out. So that's point 1. Point 2 is I wouldn't change a fucking thing about my life right now. I'm living, feeling. There's been some shit. There has been some hard stuff that has made me look deeper at myself and the work that I need to do. And in spite of everything that I just listed for you, I have been happier than I've ever been. Happy for no reason. And coupled with moments of, fuck, this is hard and it's sadder. And I wish I could go back to my numb superwoman state sometimes. That's like a fleeting wish. And then I remember what it was like, and I would never wish to go back. I've never worked less and spent more time in my pleasure. Felt more seen and supported in relationships and friendships because I'm learning me and I'm learning how to be vulnerable. Never had better sex, never learned the meaning of true rest, moved into my dream house, changed the way that I did business that is more aligned to how I want to spend every day of this life. Work with my dream clients, learn to receive love, money, sex without over giving, without people pleasing, without earning it, learning to accept this much good without having an intermittent superwoman illness is my current, I want to say, goal, but it's not even really a goal. But being able to receive more pleasure, being able to resensitize my nervous system to let it know that it is safe when there is nothing wrong. It is safe when there is no problems to solve, when there is no people around me or things to fix. So I've surpassed every goal I ever set for myself in my life twice. And this next level, this next iteration, this next transformation, this next becoming is about excess and massive amounts of pleasure because I am. And I'm going to do it without looking for a new project to start. There's no kitchen reno or buying another income property. It's mine and my clients, like usual go-to, or like some massive investment in our business when things are stable. So think about it. How do you create drama when there isn't any? When the waters are calm? How do you create the chaos or insert yourself in someone else's chaos so that it feels normal? Send me a DM on Instagram. I'd love to laugh with you over the ways that we fuck shit up or used to fuck shit up. So it's important to know this. The journey to pleasure, the journey to more sex and connection, to more ease, is the journey to more feeling. And it's not always what we would call comfortable. I'm in it right now, this huge process, this huge learning. And because I trust it, I trust what's on the other side, It's worth it. We're cyclical beings. We shed uterine linings monthly, or we should without medical intervention, which we need sometimes. No shame. I know how delicate we can be with each other, but shedding linings, we're creating life and delivering children. We're creating businesses or things that can do good in this world and help people. That's the feminine, that's yin. It takes what is given to us and it transforms it. It takes a sperm and an egg and it creates new life. And I know that I can transform a huge, huge pile of shit and turn it into pleasure, gold. If you listened before, like, it's been a hell of a few years. And as we begin to become more vulnerable, a lot of things start to not fit. We start to realize, holy shit, I don't even know how to be, how to receive, how to feel good. It can be uncomfortable. We did a 1-day pleasure challenge with the women in the mentorship, and to see like how many of them got sick or things, like it started off great and then things went sideways because they hit that limit. They hit their havingness, they hit their receiving limit for pleasure. So that's the void. Episode 82 of the Pleasure Principles podcast. If you haven't listened to it, check it out, where you know what you've been doing isn't working, but you don't know how to be or exist differently. So my clients will tell me that they're questioning friendships, relationships, the career that took them 10 plus years of education or years of sweat equity in their business or career. Like, and this doesn't serve me anymore. This isn't what I want to be doing. I lived the last 35 or 40 years thinking that this was my goal and I've achieved it and I'm not happy. The self-care that I used to use doesn't work anymore. I've heard I can't even relax in the bath. I'm being masculine about doing the feminine things that you're telling me to do. And when we get this awareness and we start to feel and we start to bloom and open, suddenly everything seems off. And an important point to understanding intimacy and navigating this next step of the journey is you have to feel what you don't want to feel, what you haven't wanted to feel. Lots of patterns, which I help clients identify, that we have developed from a young age to keep us safe, our survival selves. Our survival selves got us here, and there's so much to be proud of, and there's so much to thank her for. She's got us through some shit. But it will not get us to the next level of love, sex, and intimacy that we crave. Not the joy. There's a hollowness to it, a sense of, is this it? Is this all there is? So we're not going to go deeply into trauma and PTSD on this episode. I want to talk about what isn't often talked about. I want to talk about what my work is in, the deep healing that requires us to awaken to greater pleasure and joy as we do this work. And I find so often we can get focused on the trauma or the diagnosis or what happened and the meaning that we ascribe to it, that we forget the pleasure part. So as we do the trauma work, as we do the realizations, the feeling, the seeing, there's holes that we need to fill, and we need to fill them with pleasure. So to feel more pleasure and joy, I want to give you some simple yet effective ways to feel more, to be more vulnerable, more present, more aware of your feelings in daily life and in the bedroom. So tip number 1 is to go slow. We talked about this before, but I'm going to mention it again because it is so hard for Superwomen to grasp. They think that because they meditate or go to yoga that they're slowing down, but our nervous systems aren't. I always laugh because, it used to come up a lot more, but my clients would tell me that they're like, oh yeah, your podcasts are amazing because I listen to them on 1.5 times and get through it. So get through it faster so I can do more. It's very masculine. And I talk slower now. I take up more space, let things land. But then the Superwoman brain's like, I'm going to listen to this on 1.5 times because I can still understand and I am being more efficient. So, calling you out on going slow if you're listening to this on 2 times or whatever. So, signs you need to practice going slow, aside from listening to this podcast on hyperspeed, is you do several things at once. Feeling the need to speed up when we are dysregulated or stressed, thinking about a to-do list if you're sitting down, thinking about a to-do list if you're having sex. And if you sit down to do nothing and relax, it feels uncomfortable. There's guilt, there's shame, there's oh, what about this? Like you're finding things to do. So we stay busy to avoid feeling the feelings. We sit on the couch, but instead of being truly present and relaxing, we're watching Netflix, we're eating, we're drinking, we're also scrolling our phones. Going slow forces us to sit in our dirty diapers, as my coach Tiffany Carter would say, and feel things that we don't want to feel. So intentionally going slower, walking slower, making tea slower, doing your face routine slower, kiss slower, actually allows you to feel something. And the feelings are the work. Tip number 2 for resensitizing our bodies for more pleasure: unplug. Removing excess stimulation is an amazing idea for Superwomen. We're always plugged in, like driving and listening to the podcast or walking and listening to podcasts. Unplugging means having times throughout your day where you would normally go and seek out your usual dopamine hits. This is not internally happy for no reason. This is like anhedonia. This is, I'm going to fill the void with some cheap ass dopamine from an external source. So looking at social, online shopping, eating, calling people, especially like when we're doing these behaviors, when we're anxious, depressed, overwhelmed, or bored. So even if you unplug and sit with your feelings for 2 minutes or 5 minutes, try and relax, do nothing, meditate, deep breathe, listen to the Calm app, listen, like open your window and listen to some nature sounds or city sounds. No phone, no numbing. Feel what comes up. It's going to be uncomfortable. You're probably not going to like it. You're going to want to convince yourself that there are things to do. And that is the exact opposite. Your work is feeling the feelings. And like I said, even for a while there, when things were crazy or I'm at a stressful time in my life, I can even sleep with headphones in because I can't even sleep without that stimulation. Tip number 3, movement. Having a regular practice where you move your body. Lots of your clients, my clients, are trained in sports as children. Like we were some type of athlete, excelled at something. We have an understanding of kinesiology, how the body works. And there's a difference between a choreographed dance routine and being in tune enough with your body to move how it feels good. Going to yoga to be the best in the class and do the poses perfectly, and actually checking in and asking, how does my body need to be moved right now? So this should look different every single day. And if you are anhedonic and not able to receive pleasure, love, sex, intimacy in the capacity that you want, whatever your current movement routine is needs to be changed up because it's not working. So we can try hip circles. We can put us on a song that you love and move, and it will feel extremely, extremely uncomfortable. It's not about doing it right, Superwomen. It's about doing what your body needs. Tip number 4, proper emotional expression. You're going to need help. You're going to need help on this one, probably. Therapy, a community of women like the women in the Pleasure Collective to witness you. Talk about spiritual bypassing of emotions so much in my community. And I think on this podcast as well, it is so common in women to feel like we need to feel our deep emotional expression, the joy and the pleasure, as well as the pain, the anger, the frustration, especially the anger and frustration. Those have been so big for me lately. So let's use anger, for example. So, ways that we can express anger on our own. Yelling and screaming at our children or our partners is not the answer. So, we can journal, we can scream into a pillow, we could have a tantrum on our bed or safely throw something. It will feel amazing to have these emotions come out and be released, feel complete, not that we're stuffing them down. That's going to stagnate our energy and wreak havoc on your health. Chinese medicine has proven this for thousands of years. So those are all great things to do on your own. Having your emotions witnessed by others, especially other women, is massive in accelerating healing. We do practices like this in the feminine mentorship, and it is like a year of therapy in 5 minutes. Tip number 5, release tension. Check in. Where's your body tense right now? Where does your trauma get stored? Your neck, your jaw, your pelvic floor, your digestion. Sometimes in this world, you'll hear it called de-armoring or trigger point release, like maybe cervical de-armoring, when we're talking about ways to increase orgasmic energy. But the essential principle of tension release is that strong emotions are stored in the body. And with massage or some application of pressure and deep breathing, so once we find a point of tension, we can apply some gentle pressure or grab it, depending on where it is, and we can feel it release as we exhale. So a lot of the women that I work with have pelvic floor dysfunction or want more, better, longer orgasm. So we're working with pelvic wands to release tension there in your vagina. So I teach these concepts in my programs. They're also something that you might want to work with a professional, a pelvic floor physiotherapist, a chiropractor, osteopath, Chinese medicine practitioner that is aware of the mind-body connection and these concepts, releasing stored tension. So for me, it is my jaw and my pelvic floor. They are connected. More on that on another episode, but you can start by working on releasing the tension yourself. Find it, apply some pressure, and deep breathe until you can feel it release. I'm going to give you a bonus tip. Tip number 6, rest, do nothing, nap. This is so hard for me. I've been napping for the first time in my life, and I still feel guilty because I was like an hour that I could have been getting something done. Anyways, been napping for the last month, and it has been amazing. It's part of my regulating my nervous system for my vomiting issue. So when we are dysregulated and focused on stress, the pleasure centers are turned off in our brain. You've heard me say this time and time again. We have proven this with MRIs. So we literally become less sensitive to pleasure and joy. We become more anhedonic when we are in our superwoman, our survival state. It feels so foreign to relax. So the more we relax, the more we're going to start to feel, the more we will open to pleasure and feel pleasure. And that is when most of us try and run or create a little bit of chaos. So as we increase our ability to feel, to be vulnerable, to receive pleasure, that's the part that's missing. That's the work that we have to do. We're going to need to become more tuned into our intuition and more discerning with how and who we spend our time with, who we let in our vaginas, others, and situations will affect us more strongly. So things that didn't used to bother you will definitely bother you. People, places, things. So hello, cyclical vomiting syndrome. Learning to care for myself in this more vulnerable, sensitive, deeply caring and connected version of myself needs new boundaries, needs new self-care and self-pleasure routines. New conversations need to be had. So increased feeling and sensitivity leads to deeper intimacy. We cannot disconnect the two. I can give you tips on how to give a blowjob in your feminine. But if we do not do this work on feeling and opening and being more vulnerable, we're going to get to a plateau in our intimacy, in our joy, in our ability to receive pleasure. We love the check boxes. Those feel good. It's like we've completed something. But increased feeling and sensitivity lead to deeper intimacy. They lead to the pleasure and connection that you desire. But you cannot hide anymore. You can tolerate less at this point. But I want to say this because I know you're all perfectionists and these things either sound easy, so you're not going to try them. But when you do them, you're going to be really, really bad at it. And we don't like being bad at things. We like to convince ourselves that it's not for us, or it doesn't work, or whatever, instead of doing the work. So I want you to try. We're not trying to get this perfect. You won't. You're going to fall on your ass. You're going to suck at it. You're going to fail at some things, but you tried. You did something. You received 30 seconds or a minute more of pleasure or relaxation. You really let a compliment land. You're living, you're feeling, you went for it. You got vulnerable. You got distracted. You started the kitchen reno. But the point is, it's doing it. The feelings are the work. It is how we resensitize our bodies to more pleasure. Now, because we are in this new state, communication is something that we are also going to need to update. I am hosting a live training March 23rd, 12 p.m. Eastern. It is for only $47. And we are going to teach you how to communicate from your feminine, how to stop having the same repeating arguments in your relationship so you can enjoy each other again, how to feel supported and cared for by asking through feminine invitation, not demanding, commanding, crying, doing it yourself. Those are all done. We're more sensitive now. We're feeling now. We need a new way of communicating. And I want you to learn a framework that will help you to communicate your true needs and desires without stuffing it down, figuring it's easier to do it yourself, feeling fake or unheard. Because as I said, was the superwomanliest superwoman going. So this fluffy, esoteric, feminine energy shit where it doesn't feel like grounded and authentic in who I truly am. Trust me, I will not be wasting your time. So go to thepleasurecollective.com/fundamentals and you can register for this live training. It will be so fun to hang out and chat. I promise it will be tons of info, lots of actionable time, or lots of actionable takeaways, and we will spend your time workshopping some things together. So it's going to be fun, real-time learning and actionable takeaways. So thank you, and go feel. Let me know how hard it is. Please send me a DM on Instagram. I'd love to hear from you. Have a great week, everybody. If you like what you heard in this episode, leave me a rating. Your support helps me get discovered by more women like you. Together, we can change the conversation around women's sexual health and pleasure for you, your partners, and generations to come.